Good evening and welcome. Don't know, I was live then. Always do that, don't I? And I
You
never
just give me a look and say, are we live?
Are we live? Are we live? Well, we've got comments coming already. People were waiting as well. And we're so excited because we've got a fantastic guest on the show tonight. Welcome to another live with Richie and the wonderful
Rogue.
And
my voice is still not great. So you're all going to have to bear with me.
We've tried everything. We've tried turmeric. We've tried fruit. We've tried lockets. I mean, we've tried everything, Rogue. I mean, nothing's working.
It's doing my head in now. I just sound like, can I just do my Marge Simpson?
Go on, Marge Simpson. Go on in. No,
it's really affecting my voice.
Really weird, that does. But anyway, thank you to all of our subscribers. Hey, by the way, thank you to everyone that subscribed to the channel because we've reached a milestone for us. As you know, we're a brand new political channel. Not political, we're top of everything. We're definitely not a political channel, are we? That's one thing I got wrong there. But I want to say thank you because we've now hit the magic target, and it might seem small to some, but it's big to us because we've only been going for a few months. We now have over 5,000 subscribers. There we go, folks. Thank you ever so much.
Whoever
yes,
is not subscribed,
2.6 million views, and you can see the rest of it there, but over 5,000 subscribers. So thank you to every single one of you that have taken the time to subscribe, to follow us, like and share the show as well. And also don't forget, we're on all the channels on social media, on X, and we're on Facebook as well. Don't forget our Facebook page because that is building as well. We've got a few thousand on there. You can find us on Richie and Rogue Unfiltered on there as well, and you can follow us on X and all the channels on there as well, coming up scrolling underneath there. Well, we're excited tonight. Can't wait to get our guest on, so we might as well get on with the show, Rogue, don't we? But before we do that, we want to say welcome to all of you. Everyone's welcome as well done, everyone. Let's have a look. Go to the comments here. Good evening all. Evening. Nice to see you. Yo, I like bringing our viewers in. It's nice. Nice
it's
so
comments good. Up. We've got Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
Our favourite friend.
A lot of love already for Craig. Look. Do you know much about Craig Houston? Well, that's why we're here tonight. We're going to find out about him. That's exactly the plan. Well, we do actually, because he was recommended to us and his story is absolutely incredible. Good evening, Richie and Rogue.
Our lovely Claire Bear.
Yes, welcome, everybody. Thank you all for the comments coming in. Keep them coming in. And while you're doing that, we want to welcome those who are on Craig's platform tonight, because Craig has been kind enough to share this broadcast with his followers on his channel as well. So thank you for joining us. It might be the first time. You probably understand him better than me because we've both got very, very strong accents. Now, his is very, very Glaswegian. Mine's very, very Welsh Valleys. So tonight is going to be mental. But
I've lost my voice.
She's lost her voice. So we got a hell of a show like that. This is going to be interesting stuff, man. It's going to be fantastic. We're really, really looking forward to it. So I'm going to try to speak a bit slower so Craig can understand me. And hopefully Craig will speak slower so I can understand him. Okay, I hope that's all right, okay? Thanks, guys. We love you too, loving the show. Thank you ever so much. Don't forget to check us out as well on our new website, richieandrogue.com. You can find a contact page there so you can get hold of us. Tomorrow night, or Tuesday night.
I don't know what day. It's Sunday, isn't it?
What day is it? Sunday.
Sunday.
Tuesday night, we will have the beautiful and wonderful
Howard Cox.
Howard Cox will be on with us. And then Sunday after, I don't know, we got something. We need a chat in this room somewhere with all the guests.
We're on with Richard Inman on Thursday as well.
Are we?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, you did.
I tell you what, you never tell me anything. You just book people in. You know what she does? She books people in and says, "Oh, guess who's on tonight?" I go, "Who?" So and so. I went, "Oh, all right then. Thanks then." And I'm just going to put the show together within an hour. Isn't that love? Yeah, that's very kind of you. Anyway, we want to bring our guest on. Now, this gentleman has experience and he knows what it's all about when it comes to two-tier justice, two-tier policing. And we have seen what has happened to our country when it comes to that. You know, likes of Lucy Connolly and sadly Peter Lynch, who lost his life, and many others as well who have been arrested for their thoughts and opinions, for posting stuff on social media. And it's absolutely crazy that the police are policing the tweets and not our streets. And we've seen this cancel culture happen so much when people are afraid to say what they believe. And have an opinion, and then they get a knock at the door. Well, this man's story is incredible, and I can't wait for you and all of you to listen to it. So let's welcome to the stage then, should be the wonderful Craig Houston. Good evening, Craig.
Hello, Craig.
Your mic is off, Craig.
I can't hear you.
His mic is off.
Here.
His mic is off.
There we go.
Oh. There we go. We got him, Craig. You there? He keeps.
Yeah.
You were turning it off. We were turning it on. Yeah, we got you. It wouldn't be a Richie and Rogue show if it didn't go wrong at the start, mate. Right? That's standard for all of our viewers that know us. They know what's going on. So, Craig Houston, let's get into it then, because you wanted to ask the questions, didn't you?
Well, I'm going to try and do it. So, I just want to set the scene around you and your story, because I've been researching you and having a look into what happened that day that you got arrested. So you're at your partner's house, you're taking her lad to school, you're walking down, and then you see two coppers and you're like, nothing to see here, all good. And then they target you. They come right up to you and you know that it's you that's actually the issue. But first of all, you've got loads of things going through your head. What's happening? Has anybody died? Is it, you know, what has something gone wrong, like horribly wrong? And you actually said that when you found out that it was you that was being arrested, you felt relief. Can you tell us more? Can you tell us exactly what happened?
Well, my daughter was 21 at the time, and she was studying a semester in New York. And with a difference in time, when I saw cops, my first thing was, my partner stays in a relatively quiet suburb, and you know, you don't see too many police there. So when I was there, I thought somebody's had a small robbery or something like that. And the next thing, they were walking towards me, and I said, "How you doing, guys? He's looking for an address." And he said, "No, Craig, we're here to arrest you. No, we're here for you." And the first thing I thought of was my daughter, America, maybe 5 hours behind. Did something happen overnight in New York that I hadn't heard? And you know, if you've got kids and got loved ones, you kind of understand the instant fear when the two cops are standing in front of you saying they're there to speak to you. So that was my initial instinct was, what's happened? Is my Amy all right? And but then they said, no, we're here to arrest you. They went, no, listen, don't panic. No, it's not that at all. We're here to arrest you. But they were conscious that my man was 12-year-old at the time. He's 13 now. And I'd walked out the drive with him. And they were like, could you come over here and we'll speak to you privately? So I was like, yeah, okay. And I thought my first initial instance was that was knocking the head about my daughter. They made it quite obvious that they weren't there for her. And then I thought, well, next thing, what is it? And I thought, you know what, we've got that hate crime thing up here. I was very outspoken. I was outside the front doors of Hollywood the day it went live. I was asked to speak at a rally there. And I've been quite vocal about the hate crime, and I've been quite vocal about a lot of Scottish politicians. So I thought, you know what, it'll be a hate crime thing. The Scottish police have told us that they will investigate every single hate crime allegation. And I thought, well, this is what it's going to be. They're going to take me to a police station, ask me some questions about a video, and by 12 o'clock, I'll probably be on my merry way. So that's kind of where my head was. So we met, man's mum came out. She got him in the car and she was like, "I'm okay." And I was like, "Oh, you're here to arrest me, so I'll phone you when I'm out." And my expectations, I campaigned for about 3 years, a decade ago. Rangers Football Club had some really bad owners, and I became an unintentional activist to oust them, and we were ultimately successful. So, I'm not a newbie to protesting and being active against people. And I had been arrested before, but never charged. And it was stupid things. Even the police knew.
For the record, I've never been arrested in my life, ever.
No, right.
It's a joke.
Right.
It's a joke. No, I'm joking. They know I'm joking.
I was in my 40s before it became a thing for me, but up until this point, I'd never been charged. So, and it was always quite relaxed. The cops that were dealing with then knew that it was stupid complaints and they were a bit malicious. And, I wasn't like handcuffed or anything like that. Back, a decade ago. But I'd been through the course 3 times, maybe 4 times. So I thought, this is what's going to happen. And the guy said, "Look, we're not going to handcuff you or anything stupid, Craig. Just come over to the other side of the road, the other side of the car. We need to do some things technically, and then we'll get this sorted." So we went to the other side of the car. They searched me before we went into the car. In my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to be driven to the closest cop shop, and I'll have an interview, and I'll be getting papped up the road by lunchtime. That's where the head was. That notion quickly changed because I went into the car. One cop was beside me and the other cop was in front of me. And the one in the driver's seat turned round and started reading out a charge sheet, which has never happened to me in my life. I was like, what are you doing? He said, "I'm charging you." I said, "But you've not even told me what I've done yet or what I've alleged to have done. You've not interviewed me." He says, "Well, we don't need to. If we believe we've got enough evidence to charge you, you see that in the movies and TV programs. Everybody gets arrested, gets interviewed, and 9 times out of 10 they say they haven't done it." And I was never given that opportunity. And so I was quite shocked because I thought, well, shit, and it's Friday. Now, what happens in Scotland, it might be slightly different, English and Welsh law. You would normally be arrested, charged, and taken to court the next opportunity, which is normally the following day. Well, this was a Friday, and I'm thinking, I'm in a cell all weekend here to get to court on the Monday to be told what I'm charged with, and then asked if I'm guilty or not guilty. But anyway, that didn't happen. I got out late afternoon, going into the early evening of the Friday night, but I didn't know that at the time. So another peculiar thing happened, and I've never really understood why, but there's a cop shop about a mile from my house, which is where they were sent from to pick me up. But I wasn't in my house. So they tracked me down to my girlfriend's, which is in the sort of north side, north of the Glasgow Clyde goes practically horizontally across a map. She's in the north side of the city and over to the west. My house is in the south of the city, just a wee touch to the west. So the local cop shop, I thought, that's where I'm going. They took me to one away to the other side of Glasgow. So I was in the car for about half an hour and got out, taken into the police station, went through the usual stuff, emptied my pockets, took my shoelaces off me, asked me some questions, and then took me through to do something which I've never done in my life. That was fingerprints, mugshot, and your DNA samples taken, and then put in a cell. And when you're 52-year-old and you've never been in a police cell in your life before, it was quite surreal, to be honest with you. No watch, no idea of time, and I was then taken out in the afternoon, late afternoon. I was presented with a document, which I was looking at just the other day, actually. I'm not looking at bloody many things for the court. Not that one. And given a piece of paper to sign with what we know as bail conditions, but are technically called undertakings in Scotland, where they say, we're not taking you from here to court. We're going to ask you to come to court on another date, which was a month up the line. But here's your bail conditions, undertaking. And one of it was that I couldn't speak to councillors, any Glasgow City councillor. By this point, I was, although they've never said it's this video, this is what you said, blah, blah, blah. So I was told to sign this, and then I could go. And I was like, well, you're asking me to sign this, and I know people that are Glasgow City councillors. Now, if it was one or two Glasgow City councillors that you think I may have committed a crime against, I kind of get that. But that was part of my bail conditions. I was banned from Glasgow City Chambers. I was banned from Glasgow City Centre, George Square, and I was banned from a private address in the south side of the city, which I can only guess, I've not even looked into it, I don't care, but I can only guess it was the councillor that made the complaint. So gets out, gets home, because you don't have any phone, you don't have any cards. I had about 40 pence in my pocket, but they gave me a travel thing to get myself, use the train to get home. And I thought, do you know what, I spent that time in the cell really cutting myself up. And I thought, I've said something stupid. I've made 1,700 videos. I can't remember what I've said in every one of them. I can remember most of the topics, but I cut myself up that whole day thinking, you're a fucking idiot, right? And the charge sheet doesn't tell you, I wish I had it here somewhere, exactly what you've done. It's just got like, oh, that's here, code. And it tells you that you have been arrested and charged in charge of hate crime and Public Order Act Scotland, Section 4 in brackets 1. I don't all they've told me is I've incited racial hatred. I've not done anything racial hatred, but I've incited others to do it by this video. And I get home, well, I get back to my partner's that night, and the first thing I done was I took the video off air. Now, I wasn't told to do that. I just thought it would kind of make sense. I'm not going to dig a bigger hole for myself. I didn't want to watch it because I was sure I was going to have said something on it that would be so obvious to me and I would hate myself for doing it. So I got home, well, got back to my partner's, and she went to her bed and I was up on the laptop and I put this code in for the crime because I'm like, what am I looking at here? A community service, a fine if this all goes wrong. And it came up and told me that because of the aggravated by racism, that could be a 2 to 7 year custodial sentence.
Wow.
What?
Aye, so that makes, you need new pants shortly after that. So I went to my bed that night.
Oh, you bet you did, yeah.
I went to bed that night and kind of didn't sleep much, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
The next morning, I thought, I need to watch this video. I need to, if I've got a chance of going to jail for 27 years, I kind of need to understand what I've done here. So I got up, the video I think was 12 or 13 minutes long. I watched it and I thought I must have missed something here. So I watched it again. And I still couldn't understand where I hadn't incited anybody to do anything. So I then got my partner to sit down. This is us now on a Saturday morning. And I said, look, forget that guy on that screen's me. Think of that guy as the most racist, horrible guy you can. And tell me what he's done wrong. She watched it. Couldn't see anything there. So in the next sort of 48 hours, a mate of mine's at top KC in Scotland. He looked at it. We had Toby Young for the Free Speech Union looked at it. We had Fraser, the Free Speech Union Scottish director at the time, look at it. With the Free Speech Union's internal legal advisor look at it. And then we had, by the Monday or the Tuesday, they had put me in touch with a lawyer and he looked at it. So 5 people with far more legal expertise than I have had all looked at this video in a sort of 48-hour timescale. And every single one of them said the same thing to me. Where's the other video? That is the only video I've ever put out with that woman. Now, the actual content of the video, somebody had sent me a clip of her and she made this statement that went a bit viral. I don't even know if it was before my video or after my video, but she made a comment along the lines of the Glasgow City Council is pale, male, and stale. In fact, I'm getting into stuff now that I maybe shouldn't, but that's out there in the public domain, so that's not really the end of the world. So my video was me commenting her video, but I found another 2 videos where she made some really strange claims that I was questioning and saying, look, I'm not saying there's no racism in Glasgow. I've taught football for 18 years as a volunteer and I've seen racism at that level. So, racism is a thing. But the levels that it's been portrayed to be, I don't believe they're accurate. And the way that she's measuring it, I don't believe is even measurable. She's making claims I don't think were true. So that was a video. And it was a language like that, as aggressive as that. It was like nothing. And every one of them said, look, where's the other video? So, well, that's the video. So now what normally would happen is, this was just the sort of last Friday in May. I can't remember what the date will be on that. The last Friday in May. And I was asked to attend court on the 8th of August, about a month later. And that's where they would eventually sit me down and say, this is what you're being accused of. Do you plead guilty or not guilty? That's kind of what happens in a court case. So the 8th of August is approaching, and a couple of days before that, I got a message. In fact, the police came to the door and gave me a second letter, which was this one, which I'm not going to put up. It's got my address and stuff on it. It tells you, don't come to court on the 8th of August, now come to court on the 19th of September. We're putting it up another month and your bail conditions are still the same. So that's fine. So now we got in September and we walk into the court and my lawyer comes back to me and says, they've cancelled that again. They put it up for, I was on holiday in October. So the October one I couldn't do. They set us a date for November. And in the meantime, we were arguing the bail conditions because they were a bit ridiculous, right? So we did visit court to discuss the bail conditions at one point, thinking that that would bring them into court and they'll just get on with the allegations, tell you what you've done, and you can say guilty or not guilty.
Yeah.
It's never happened. So the last one was, I think it was early November. And about 2 days before that, I got a phone call from a lawyer saying, Craig, I've just sent you an email. You need to read it, phone me back. And in that letter, it told me that there was no further court date. I don't have any bail conditions, but in the future, they could come back and change their mind, basically, right? So I phoned him back and he went, have you read it? He said, well, what's your understanding? I said, well, I think that means the case is banned. And he said, in 25 years of practicing law, I've only seen that letter once in my life. And it was a murder case. Yeah. It was a murder case where they felt the guy had done it. They just didn't have enough evidence to get a successful conviction. And he says, this isn't normal. This is very abnormal because your case is very, very simple. It's one video. That's it. There's no reams of evidence. There's one video that people need to watch and decide if you incited people to commit racial violence against somebody, or racial abuse against somebody. That's kind of what the charge is. So that's where we're at. Now, there's more to the story. But unfortunately, in Scotland, our laws on reporting in cases is slightly different from the rest of the UK. I don't know about Northern Ireland, but certainly England and Wales. In England and Wales, you can print, say, talk, discuss anything about a case up until the point of the guy goes to court and pleads guilty or not guilty. Then you've got new legislation that comes into play that you can't influence a trial. So that makes sense to me. But in Scotland, the time kicks in when the person is charged. So I was charged in May at my girlfriend's doorstep. So from that point forward, nobody can talk about this case in the press. I've told you stuff that's already out there, and I'm going to rewind the clock a wee bit just to tell you what happened in the meantime. But I've not told you anything really that's not out there. I've just replayed a story that's already there, right? But going back, so I got arrested the Friday, wakes up the Saturday, and on the Saturday night round about 11 o'clock, our biggest newspaper up here is called the Daily Record, and they have the Sunday Mail, that's their Sunday paper. They launched on the Daily Record's website the story that they were putting in their paper on the Sunday. And it was very clever. You pulled up some headlines. If you want to pull one up, because I just want to explain something to you that's quite cute. Now, this is a sort of shite newspapers, but right? Newspapers, if they tell lies, they're open for all sorts of stuff. So they go through legal and almost every story. People check it. So what they've done is they've made two claims there. They've told you that an individual has been racially abused. And they tell you a podcaster called Craig Houston has been arrested. So if you read that story and don't think about it too much, which is kind of what I want to do, right? So that's a slightly different version, but it's the same thing. YouTuber arrested after counsellor targeted with racial abuse. Now, those two things, I know one of them happened, that's me get arrested, right? And I'm kind of guessing that she did get targeted with racial abuse. But you read that, you think, I've been arrested for racially abusing her.
Yeah, absolutely,
Bit about it, right? I've not been arrested for racially abusing anybody. This is the stitch up. This is a hit piece. This is the way things get spun. Now, there's a very, I need to watch what I'm saying now. This is where I kind of need to start getting, just protect myself just now.
Yeah, sure.
But there's things that I'll add on to this story and I'll be shouting loud, right? But you think about this for a minute. There's only two people likely to have told that newspaper that Craig Houston was arrested. That's A, the Labour Party or their councillor in the Labour Party, or B, the police. Now, in the first newspaper article to come out, the police statement was printed in the paper. And what they said was a 52-year-old man was arrested. No name. So I find it highly unlikely that the police put my name into the newspaper. Now, the same weekend, and known to the Labour Party, this is key, there was people in the Labour Party knew that on the Monday morning, I was just about to be announced as the Scottish leader for the Social Democratic Party in the run-up to the holiday. So what's happened now is we've got a leader of a political party arrested for making comment about another party's house. And there was very, very few people in Scotland knew that was about to happen. And there's only two groups of people knew that Craig Houston had been arrested. And that was the police and the Labour Party. I ain't going to tell you what I think. I can only tell you a series of facts, and you can make your own imagination decide if these are true or not true. Or, are they connected or not connected? So that's kind of the story. So where we're at just now is, and the biggest pain in the arse is actually my phone. See, having your own phone, I've got a shitey burner phone.
I can tell you from experience, if Rogue didn't have her phone, right, it'd be the end of the blooming world, mate. Because that thing is glued to her hand 24/7, right? But mind you, she does take a lot of calls from people doing stuff as well. So yeah.
So I understand. Like your right arm's gone missing.
I've got 23,000 contacts in my phone. Now, the majority of them came through my previous Rangers stuff, right? But there's some really good people in there that could really help me in the run-up to an election. There's stupid things like, let's say Facebook, for example. I can't get into my Facebook because when I try to, I've got to verify it with my phone, and I can't change it and tell them this number because you need to do that off the other phone. There's banking things. I got diagnosed as being diabetic in January the 1st last year. I don't know how many really serious appointments. I know I missed one for my eyes, which I'm going to need to try and catch up with next week.
Yeah.
But that's stuff that you kind of don't think of. It's just a pain in the arse, right?
Yeah.
When I had my travel tickets for my holiday were already in it, because I went on holiday in July and I went in October. The tickets for the July holiday, everything was in my phone. I've got email addresses I still can't access, stuff for my politics. Some of my banking's a bit weird because sometimes you try to do something and it's like you need to double verify stuff and you're like, oh, here we go again, right? And they haven't actually even turned my phone on. And I'm not going to tell you how I know that. I just know that my phone has not been turned on since that day in May when I handed it over to the police station. So it's not as if they're using it for evidence. And the thing is, the video wasn't made on my phone. So there's nothing in my phone. And I did speak to somebody that's quite well known, and I don't like name dropping, but he's a guy that does quite successful rallies in London, and his last one was reported to have between 1 million and 2 million people attended it. And he's had problems with his phones and people wanting the numbers off them. And for some bizarre way, I mean, he had my own phone number. He managed to get a hold of me on the Saturday night just as the newspaper thing happened, because my Twitter people were, wonder if Craig's made, he's not spoke, he's not said a word in 2 days, which isn't like him. He's not put any videos in 2 days. And then the newspaper came out and been arrested, and he got a hold of me, and we were talking about his case where the phone, they said it was for anti-terror reasons, they needed his number. Right. And he was telling me that's the only time the police can demand you give them your phone passwords. And what happened with me was I was in the cell. I feel comfortable talking about all this stuff because it's got nothing to do with the case. This is about the mechanics of being arrested.
Yeah.
So I get locked up. You get handed over for the cops to civilians. They do your fingerprints and all that, and then you get taken to a cell. And I'm in the cell, and I'm there for about 10 minutes, and the door opened, and it was the copper that had arrested me. Craig said, before I go, can I ask you a favour? I said, what is it? He said, do you have a passcode on your phone? I said, yeah, I do. Do you want to give me it? And I went, I don't know. Take Tommy Trump. Can anyone translate into English? We'll get something to Tommy. So they came and asked me if I would mind giving them the passcode for my phone. And I was like, well, I'm kind of guessing I'm going to be getting some representation, legal representation here soon. So if you don't mind, I'll just wait till I've had that and ask them. And I went, but why do you want it? And he said, well, there's something we want off your phone. And if we can get the password, get it off your phone, we can give you it back whenever you leave here. And I was like, right, I might look stupid, right, but give me a wee bit. And I said, look, I'll just wait till I can take legal advice on this, whether that's better for me or not. So I never gave them that. And your man that gets the 1 million people turning up in London said, that Craig, that's the best thing. He says, because what they would do is, they would try, let's say they saw my WhatsApp messages between me and him, for example. They would love that, right? And if I'd said something stupid on there, that they could tie to something else, it's just about stuff. Or what might not be anything to do with what they've chosen. It's
just incriminating and it's not actually relevant, yes.
Yeah, or if I had, the type of person that sends dodgy photographs, or it could be stuff on there that they could incriminate you against other things. It's like, that's why they want your phone. That's it.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's kind of the story. So where we're up to, I still don't know. Something I've never said out loud, which I will tonight. On the first week of December, we made an official complaint to the prosecution service in Scotland. And we got an email back saying that you will get a response within 5 working days, but if it's something complex, it might take 10 working days. So by the time Chris came, we were right over the line with the 10 working days, and guess what? We'd never had a response.
Of course not.
We contacted them again in the first week of the new year, which is now almost another 3 weeks gone, and they just said, yeah, well, there's things that we need to look into about your complaint. And that's it. That's kind of where we're at. So nobody cares. Nobody cares. And there's people think that there's times, they must do this, they must do that, they must get you to court within a year. There's actually no time scales put on paper anywhere. All it says is a reasonable time. Now, some people could suggest 7 months is a reasonable time to take someone to court. Some people could say 2 years. Now, if you committed a very complicated murder, I can imagine that. This case is dead simple. This case has got one thing and one thing only. Look at that video. Did this guy commit a crime? It's not complicated in any means, right? It's 7 months to actually even stand in court and say, do you plead guilty or not guilty? And that's not happened. That's kind of part of our whole workings of our judiciary. It's kind of key to it, right? Yeah. Because I could actually stand there and say, yeah, guilty. Thing's finished. Then they just need to decide how they're going to sentence me. But the fact that in 7 months, going on 8 months, that's never happened for such a simple allegation is most peculiar.
Right. Craig, I was going to ask you, what kind of impact has this had on you personally? I mean, in some cases, we've heard stories like this. I mean, yours is unique in itself because it's like innocent before you're proven guilty, and standing in a court for the first time, being arrested for the first time, all those experiences for something that you were completely unaware of, just a video amongst hundreds of videos you post as a YouTuber. I mean, then to get arrested. I mean, how has it affected you personally as an individual? Your income, your family. I mean, future prospects. If you were to apply for a new job, for example, your name's in the paper, splashed all over there, as if you've committed some, horrific crime,
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's one newspaper, and I don't want to go into this too much because there's something I'm doing about this, but one paper recently printed that I was a convicted racist.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, and you think, well, hold on a minute. But listen, through the Rangers stuff, there's a guy who wrote a book about my time in the Rangers stuff, and in that I opened up my heart and soul, and I spoke about issues I had previously with mental health problems that are normal now, right? Depression. So once you're clinically depressed and you've been diagnosed as clinically depressed, you're kind of always clinically depressed. Just 99 times out of 100, you can, it's not getting you down. But that thing's still there. Whatever it is in the psyche of some people that make them liable to be depressed is always there. Well, you don't need to be a psychologist to figure out how that's affected my mental health for 7-8 months. It's affected my livelihood. It's affected my prospects. I remember on the Sunday after the newspaper writing the article, what happens when in a newspaper? Now, I had loads of newspaper coverage with the Rangers stuff. You can imagine Rangers is a big deal up here. And I bumped into Alan McCoist, who was the Rangers manager at the time, during all that. And he started saying to me, how you doing, Craig? And I was like, hold on a minute, Ali, how do you know my name? And he said, because you're in the newspaper more than me, and I'm the manager at Rangers, right? Wow. So I've kind of got experience with media coverage, right? That's not a new thing. So get your name in the paper, isn't it? But when you get in the newspaper, you actually think every single person has read that paper. Now, that's not true, and nobody reads every single story in a paper, but that's what you read, is you think. Yeah. And I remember on the Sunday after I was arrested, can't remember where I was. I'd been out for a drive or something, and my girlfriend had phoned me and says, look, go and pick up a Domino's pizza, will you, anyway, and I'll order one, you just go and collect it. So I walked into the shop, order, give me 5 minutes, the order will be ready. So I nipped out to get a puff of my vape and check I had managed to get a burner phone in the go, so I was still trying to get numbers and stuff on it. So I thought, I'll go out and get a wee puff of the vape. And in the area in Glasgow I was in was quite heavily populated with asylum seekers. In the next 30 seconds, there must have been about 8 to 10 people who'd passed either way. And I'm standing in this street thinking, incorrectly, because as I say, you think everybody's read every story. And I kind of, my head was like, they all think I'm a racist. Now, where I live, without doxing myself, is in a, not heavily, but, there's a lot of areas that are very heavily Muslim and Pakistani origins within, a short walk from. And you think, if I was that guy, and I've read this story about this guy that stays a mile up the road, and you're reading the incorrect headlines that this guy's a racist and that he's been racially abusing a female in your community, what would I think of that guy? I would probably not like that guy.
Yeah.
So you've got all this, and you walk about the streets and you get into a shop and you come out and you see people hanging about and they're not actually doing anything, but you can never stop going, I wonder if this is the day.
Yeah.
There's all that to deal with, but there's practical things like your income, heavily. My income since about a month after I got arrested really went a bit weird. YouTube went a really bit weird with my channel, and what I made in June compared to what I'm making today is 25%, and I don't mean it's down 25%. It's down 75%.
Yeah.
My income is at 25% of the level it was in the summer, in the month just after I got arrested. And I'm not going to get into a conspiracy theory, but you to understand, or if you don't just now, you will soon, because I heard you saying in the introduction, your channel's starting to prosper. But the analytics on YouTube are phenomenal, and you can see things. You can see how many people click your thumbnail, and that's quite an important thing. Now, the clicks into my thumbnails are more than they were in the summer. And the average watch of each video is more than it was in the summer. But YouTube are putting my videos in front of less people. Now, if you were YouTube and you had this channel that was getting 2 million hits a month, and people are clicking on them more when you put them in front of them and they watch them longer, you would kind of probably think normal would be, let's put his videos in even more people. The opposite's happening. And because a lot of my stuff was out and about. I mean, in June, what I done in June after I got arrested was I just buried my head in the job. I went to Dover, went to Cali, I jumped in the car and went myself. I went to Ballymena when the riots kicked there myself. I then thought, how do all these people get to Cali? I went to Lesbos myself, spent 4 days there, all within 6-8 weeks. And then when I came back to reality, I've probably done a fraction of the out and about reporting in my local area than I'd done prior to my arrest. And that's just down to your own state of mind. You just think, I kind of will go out. And sometimes I can be in the confines of these 4 walls for 10 days because I just don't feel comfortable sometimes about going out. There's stories out there that I could go and cover that I just don't do. And I'm not a shy guy. I'm 6'1" and 17 stone. So if somebody came at me, I'll not be like an easy pushover. But I'm 52 years of age now. There's a lot fitter than me. And if there's 2 or 3 people, you kind of struggle a bit. I'm going to really fall out with Bumpy saying I'm a posh rap scene is, but
I know, I've just seen that. I was about to put it up there.
So, that's kind of where we're at. So that's how it's affected me. One thing that's also they don't understand about Craig is, see back in the Rangers stuff, I lost a business because of that. I lost contact with my kids for long periods of that. I was arrested 4 times during that. I had ashes at my back door during that. I was sued for £200,000 mischievously by a director of Rangers Football Club. I'm used to this. And one thing that happened with all that nonsense was happening in my life, it just made me more determined. So all this is doing is making me more determined. But we've got an election coming up in May, and not a newspaper will touch me as things stand, right? And I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if this case is hanging over my head until after May the 7th, which is the date of Scottish elections. Now that's me just making a suggestion. If anybody's driving that from the back, I'm not making that allegation. I'm just predicting and guessing that may be a possible outcome of this whole case.
Gosh, what a journey. Hey?
Absolutely incredible.
As a woman, when you are with somebody and they have endured this, our natural state is to protect them, look after them, and, also make sure that you're catered for. But the thing is, as a woman as well, you can actually start to feel unsafe also. Has it affected your partner?
Possibly. It's affected her in terms of, you're worried about somebody that you spent 12 years with. That's kind of normal. So that affects her. I don't want to say where she works, but she works in an industry that is really left bearing. Right, I'll tell you he's offline, which he does for a living, and you'll understand, right? But almost 99.9% of people in her industry are not of the politics of me. So you go, and she's been there for 20 odd years. And you think, well, how does that affect her in the workplace? I know she was quite paranoid without trying to worry me about it, that these things were concerns to her. She's got a young boy that goes to school with people that read newspapers. I coached kids football for 17, 18 years as a volunteer coach. And last summer, my wee team won their league, their under-13s league. I don't do that anymore. And what the day I got arrested was actually on the Saturday, we won the league the next day, and I got all the parents together before the game and said, look, this has happened to me. The shit, it'll become public knowledge at some point. But use and trust me with your children. I think it's important that I'm completely transparent with you. So here's what I've been charged with. And now in that team, we had kids that were Scottish, we had kids that weren't Scottish, right? In fact, about 25% of the team were probably non-Scots, right? So I kind of felt it was important that they heard from me, and they were so supportive. And because of my videos, when we would go and play games, it wouldn't be unusual for a parent or a coach for the other team to come up and start talking to me about my politics and my videos. That was quite normal. But as the season was starting to happen again, I was like, I can't do this. I cannot have that affecting those young kids. Those 16 kids don't deserve it. And I was kind of expecting that I could probably spend a summer. You know, other parents are nutters, right? See, kids football is fantastic by the parents, right? And the majority of parents are fantastic. But a small percentage of them are cranks and crackpots, and that sort of spoils it for them. And it get far too emotional. And I can imagine your wee team was successful. We just won the league. Everybody's wanting to beat us the next year. And I can imagine that, and I spent the whole summer toiling with this, that it would come up at games. I'm 100%. Glasgow's a very divided city, politically, religiously, football, the whole lot. So there's a chance, 50% chance, that anybody at the other side of the pitch has got something different for me, whether that's religion, football, or politics. If we were going to win a game, I can imagine it might, and it would at one point have spilled onto that. So for the first time in 18 years, I'm not I'm not coaching kids football, which is something that I evidently enjoyed, or I wouldn't have done it for 18 years. So there's all these things that happen. And hopefully the kids are all settled into new teams now and having successful football careers and still playing football. That's the most important thing.
I think the reason why I asked that is because we have actually tried to organise events for a political party.
Advanced UK.
Advanced UK. And when we've tried to sort of secure venues, we've been cancelled like several times. And then we were actually put in a Nazi outfit, and basically
you look sexy in that outfit. Actually, you look all right there. You look all right.
No Hitler.
So did the viewers. They were like, "Oh, that's cute. That is."
Great suited, apparently. But the point is that we then were a target. So we then had, that push forward with us in the suits, and it felt horrible because it was all around the time of Charlie Kirk as well. And when that is like so unhinged, and you see that like the lefties are laughing and being jovial at a death, and then we're then put in this suits, I have to say it's quite alarming because, like you, I mean, okay, we haven't been splashed out on the papers, but you go outside and you think, oh my gosh, is somebody out there? Are they looking at us? And is there something going to go wrong here? And so I totally feel, a part of what you felt. And that's why, I sort of wondered about your partner and how she's coped with it too.
Because I think if I can go back on that, Craig, before you come in on that, because the thing is, what people don't realize, because people are turning to alternative media and podcasts like yours, and by the way, I just want to welcome all of your viewers on your podcast, because I think everyone's confused in the chat because they're on multiple platforms here, and they're like, I don't know these people. So you're talking to some of our subscribers, and our subscribers are talking to your subscribers, Craig, right? Which is great. So welcome to the family, folks. What Rose was just saying there was very important, actually, because you get recognized out on the streets of Glasgow because of your videos. Okay, so when something is said and something's put in the paper and you were deemed as a charged as a racist, someone's already been charged and you have been convicted of being a racist, as you pointed out earlier, then of course people are going to look at you differently. And we've had that out on the streets as well as we've traveled up and down Wales. People have this kind of idea, we're far right thugs, we're flat out on drugs and we're off our nut. And we're like, that could be further from the truth. but people have this impression because of the allegations that get thrown against you and your relationships and associations. I mean, you mentioned Rangers, for example. You know, let's not talk about Rangers and Celtic, because I know that will cause a massive divide here, right? You know, the Celtic fans, right? But you know, you do get pigeonholed, and it can ruin your career. It can ruin your life. You know, opportunities, can it?
Richie, it's even more serious than that, because through this whole period, you had the murder you mentioned earlier. Now, I don't believe Charlie Kirk was murdered because of his beliefs. I believe Charlie Kirk was murdered because of people's perceptions of his beliefs. So when you've got a national newspaper in Scotland printing incorrectly that you have been charged with racially abusing a Pakistani Muslim female, then that puts a target on you. And I've never been charged with that. And I tell you something, see, if God forbid nothing does happen, but if anything was to happen to me, then the people that told it's hard to call it lies, because it's not lies. That woman, I think, I'm perfectly accepting that she was racially abused. But to write Craig Houston arrested, she was racially abused, or put them in the same order and connect them, that puts a target in my back. That's not my belief. That is people's perception of my beliefs. And that's why you end up in hermit for 7 months. But I'll not forget this. And I've got a good memory. I'm a stubborn old bee, right? And all this does is, as I say, I referred back to the Rangers stuff when I had some really heavy stuff going on in my life. Ashes at my back door and all these mad things, right? Threats, gangsters being paid money to come and pay me a visit, stuff like that was going on. And it just made me more determined. And people are like, how did you put up with that? You must be really brave. It's like, well, either that or I'm really stupid. I'm not convinced either way. Maybe a mixture of both. But all this has done is made me even more driven to get into Hollywood, because it's evident there are some people that do not want me in Hollywood. So it just drives me even more to go and get it. And it's not just the SNP.
Go on.
No, you go.
So Craig, obviously in these situations there's good and bad in it. You can always, like, you learn things, right, from these experiences. They're not nice lessons, but one of the things I'm sensing here is you feel this is a political target on your back as much as anything else as well, because of course with the SDPs, William Coulson was a great guy, by the way, met him several times in London, wonderful gentleman, and I got a lot of time for the people in that party. I've got friends in there actually as well. Do you think that this has been politically motivated as well against you, knowing that you're known in the area, and as a candidate potentially, because I know the SNPs have ruined Scotland. I mean, like Welsh Labour have here in Wales, right? Do you think this has been a political attack on you?
Well, what I'm not going to do is make allegations at this point. There's going to be a time in the future where there's another 80-90% of this story that I've not talked about yet, right? And there's going to be some really red faces when I tell you the other things that I've not. There's stuff that happened before my arrest that I've not disclosed, and I will disclose when the time's right. And you've made a suggestion that this may be politically motivated. I'm not going to make that suggestion. What I will do is I'll reiterate 4 or 5 facts, and people can decide for themselves. There was a handful of people knew that I was about to be given the title of the leader of the SDP in Scotland. And one of them was a very high-ranking Labour official. Something else happened to this Labour official that I'm not even going to suggest about 5 days before my arrest. Then I got arrested for something about somebody within the Labour Party. That's a fact. So these things are factual. Are they connected? Is there some sort of conspiracy? The legal complaints into YouTube about me, were they from the same people? I'll make no comment on that at the moment. But you decide if these things are just pure coincidence. And a newspaper gets my name. Now, I can't think too many people running about Glasgow, journalists running into police stations saying, "Did you arrest Craig Houston today?" They were pointed in that direction. That's how these stories get out. So you put all those together, then you decide whether your statement and your suggestion that there was a political conspiracy here or not. But for the moment, I'm not going to make any suggestion like that.
So going back a little bit, you used to be in sales, and obviously you did do football. And going back to you as a kid, did you think as a 12-year-old lad that you would be here in this situation now?
I'm 52 now, Rogue. On my 50th birthday, I didn't think I'd be standing for election. Nothing was further from my mind. I had no aspirations whatsoever of getting involved in politics. And in fact, I dislike politics. I dislike politicians. I actually dislike political parties. They are full of people that are strange, right? I kind of thought political parties, and I'm not talking about SDP here, I'll come back to what I'm talking about now, but I thought political parties were full of people with the same aims and ambitions. But they're actually two-faced lions shites that are only interested in themselves.
Absolutely.
People that are into it, right? And that doesn't matter the colour of the rosette. This type of job attracts a certain type of person, and they seem to be the most unpleasant people I've had the misfortune of meeting in my 52 years on this planet. And that's not tied to any particular party. That's across the board. I've got stories I've been fed by, I'll give you 2 examples. I get a story fed to me by the Labour Party, right? That was something bad about the SNP. And before I went with that story, I demanded to know how this information got to me. And they had it came from the SNP, something bad about the SNP, because somebody in the SNP didn't like somebody above them. So they gave the information to Labour, and Labour gave it to me to go and make a big shout about it. But I've also been close to stories that worked the opposite way with the same 2 parties, where Labour gave private minutes from a meeting to somebody in the SNP so they could do one of their. That's the type of people we're dealing with here. Now, what happens is you get the odd one who's not like that. And I would like to think that people that are watching have heard enough from me that I'm kind of not one of them, right? You get people like Rupert Lowe, you get people like Ben Habib. And by the way, I was talking to somebody about this today. Some of the nicest people I've met in politics are Scottish nationalists. You know, but, you know, they just have a different opinion. They're not raving lunatics. They're just people that have a different opinion about the constitutional question of Scotland for me. And one of them was Alec Neil, who was actually a cabinet minister under the Salmond. When Alex Salmond was the First Minister of Scotland. Lovely guy. I've met him twice. I've had numerous conversations with the telephone. I've done a podcast with him. I met him for a coffee. Lovely old guy, right? Not a normal politician, right? But the normal politicians are dirty, two-faced lying scoundrels that I wouldn't give them the keys of my house to hold while I was playing 5-a-sides. That's how much. So this industry called politics should attract people who want to do good for their community, who want to do good for people, their country, their nation. But unfortunately, the vast majority that are attracted to it are narcissistic arseholes that couldn't lie in bed straight, never mind tell you the truth in Parliament.
Yep.
I've worked in things like motor trade. I was 20 years in the motor trade. I worked in selling cars and managing people that sold cars and training people that sold cars, right? I've sold double glazing, I've sold advertising, I've sold insurance. And there's some rogues and vagabonds in the games, right? Let's not sugarcoat a shite here, right? I have never worked in an industry or been connected to an industry as bad as this. And that's wrong. We need people. Forget the colour of the rosette for a minute. Actually forget about the politics for a second as well. But we need people that will go to Westminster, they'll go to the Senate, they'll go to Holyrood and do their best for the people they're there to serve. And I made this commitment over a year ago when I decided that I was going to do this and try and get to Holyrood. And I'm fortunate enough that enough people in Glasgow believe in me and vote for me. I've made them a promise. I'll put the same sticker on the sun visor in my car and on the corner of that laptop I've got here in front of me. And it will say, remember, you are there to serve them. They are not here to serve you. And I'll put that sticker on my monitor, my car, so that every day I go to my work, I'll see it at least once, right?
Yeah.
And that's all. I can't promise people much, because that's what people do. People promise with manifestos, and they know fine well they couldn't do half of them anyway, right? So, because somebody said to me in a space one night, so what can you promise me you'll do, Craig? And I'll fight your corner for you. And what I'm about to do, by the way, and I've not launched this yet, so it's another wee exclusive for you.
Hey.
I've went out
Zoom in.
Listen, it's not going to be front page news, right? But I went out on Friday and I bought a picnic chairs. Then I went to a printer I know on the south side of Glasgow, and I've ordered basically flag material that will go around the three sides of the table, right? And when it's all arrived, and a couple of the pop-up bands, right? When that stuff's all here, I'm going to ask the people in Scotland, get 4 or 5 of your pals, tell me where you live, and I'll come and speak to you. And I'll put up a table, and the table in front of it will say, Houston, we have a problem. Come and tell me what you're... If I think I can help solve your problem, I'll tell you. If I can't solve your problem, I'll also tell you, because no is an acceptable answer when people ask questions, right? But if I think, yeah, I get to Holyrood, I could do something with that. I could maybe put a bill in about that. I could check this, right? That'll be the record. I'll move your community. I will post that video in its entirety on the YouTube channel. So it's there in the ether forever. And see if I get voted in a year from now, in 2 years from now, I've not done anything I've promised these people. Come and call me out. And I'll go to the people, and I will not just go to the people that can vote for me, which is Glasgow. Because I think when you get into that place, yes, you're ultimately responsible for the people in your constituency. But you're in Holyrood, particularly, you are responsible for everybody in Scotland. So if there's a wee group of old age pensioners that have got a problem that's driving them nuts in Arbroath, I'll go to Arbroath. I'll listen to them. Houston, we have a problem. Tell me what your problem is. I think we can sort that. And this is how I would sort it. And that will then go out. And if I get voted in and I don't do what I told those wee women in Arbroath, by God, come down and hard on me. It's as hard as I come down on current standing MSPs. And that's what we need. If we can get 30, 40, 50 people like that, I don't care what colour of rosette they've got. We can't do anything other than make Scotland better. But if we get one of me and 129 shysters, doesn't matter if they've got a Reform rosette or a Labour one or an SNP one, if they're arseholes, they're arseholes, right? And they'll sit there for 5 years and argue about the colour of shite and achieve nothing. Scotland will not be better in 5 years' time. It's impossible. So we need people that want to go in and be committed to the people of Scotland, make them promises and make sure people hold them accountable, because I sure as hell do it, and I'll sure as hell do it in that place. The amount of information that I've made public about stuff going on in that place when I'm despised in the place is frighteningly high. How much information can I find out if I can get into that building? And what I kind of admire, and I've got a lot of people that I kind of look up to and I get to take inspiration from. And I think the job that Rupert Lowe's done since he became an independent MP has been nothing short of phenomenal. And if I can do a fraction of what he's achieved in Westminster, in Holyrood, and it should actually be easier to do more, because there's only 130 people in there, or 650 in Westminster. So each individual should be able to do more. And that's kind of what I want to gear myself to be, the Scottish Rupert Lowe, who'll get shit done for the inside, because he can expose this and expose that. I mean, FOIs, because they know where to go, because you're in the building, right? You've got an office full of civil servants next door. You just go, right, I want to know this, I want to know that. I will expose a lot. But that is probably why I've got this thing over my head.
Yeah. So I'm just looking, somebody, Charlotte has just, Chloe has just said, good luck with your campaign. And Lee is saying Rupert's ratings are unbelievable. And, proud to call you a mate, Craig. What a man of integrity and morals. And absolutely hearing that.
Rogue, stop it right there. I am not his mate. Kevin the ranter was my mate, but Kevin's changed. What's happened is he's getting really good. He got on national TV, interviewed at a protest, and he done a cracking job. And he's walking about charging people in Scotland £5 for selfies now. He's selling merchandise. Do you know there's a T-shirt, right? A guy's got, and it's got a QR code in the back of it. And if you zoom in on the QR code, it takes you to Kev's Twitter page, right? I'm actually taking the piss. Kev's a great guy.
I know.
You got me sitting here thinking, what have you done? We got the show.
Kev's changed. Kev's
Oh,
changed,
Craig, you
right?
got me, but you got me by the short and curlies, man. Oh, I can't believe that. You know, oh my God, like.
That was brilliant. Hang on. Yes, we can change that, Kev. That's actually brilliant. And then we've got
oh my God.
Oh, this is too good. So, look, one of our regulars. Wow, I was not expecting that. It's absolutely.
I was like, you're going to have a slagging match with this guy Kevin now in the comments and shit, where's this going to go tonight? He's like, I'm only joking, guys.
Richie, do you know the worst thing about Kev? He supports the Celtic. Right?
Oh.
There you go.
He's a green.
Bless. Actually hilarious.
Fantastic.
So I think, you know. Say again.
He'll be raging that I managed to get Kev's changed out in this podcast.
I was going to ask you actually, because like Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, right? We got our devolved parliaments, but the national picture now, Craig, right? What you see going on in the UK, I mean, I can almost guess what you're going to say. We know it's a shit show under Keir Starmer. I mean, what do you think is happening? How much has the country changed as a whole? And has this been a direct consequence of open border policy, or is it more than that?
Do you know how bad the Labour government's been? We've kind of forgot how bad the Tories were for 14 years before them, because they were shit. They were really been involved in it, right? But in the space of, 18 months, Labour have managed to get us to really forget a lot about how bad that mob were, right? Because they're not that much better. But one thing that's peculiar about Starmer, I've never studied body language, but I've got a 25-year career in sales. You kind of pick up when somebody's talking shite to you, right? So, and you pick up on peculiarities, and you're looking for a wee tell now and again when you're saying to folk they want to buy this. The next words come out the mouth are either going to be true or not true. 9 times out of 10. Customers tell salespeople more lies than salespeople tell customers, by the way. That's a wee tip for you, right? Because they come up with 100 reasons why they can't buy something, and it's a lot of shite. And you're sitting there, so you get to understand body language. And there was something peculiar I noticed with Keir Starmer, that just almost instantly after he got the job, his persona changed. He started
bit like Craig,
bit like Kev's. He changed like Kev. He started not being the same. See, when he was the opposition leader, I felt he was a totally different persona and a different character. And all I can think of that is, I don't believe Keir Starmer is making all the decisions. He's just a guy. He's a puppet that's got to carry them out. And I'm not, by the way, giving him a pass mark for that. He's an asshole, right? He's a bad man, right? See, political leaders shouldn't come here showing news language like that. I do apologise, right? But he's not a very good politician. He does some terrible things. And one thing we're doing with a politician is he shouldn't really U-turn on much. That's his big sign of weakness as well, right? And the amount of stuff that he's U-turned on tells you it just doesn't add up. It does not make sense what we've got in the UK. And the other weird thing, and this is something that is very apparent when you're Scottish. See the amount of stupid legislation that they try to put out. Like, see Scotland. Scotland's bad. Scotland's in a shite house, right? And it would be even worse if the SNP had got their way, because they try to give us a Gender Recognition Act that a court in London They try to bring in an act that would make every child born in Scotland, they would have a guardian who would be the state, right? That never happened. There's I could go on and on and on, legislation that they never quite got through that would be even worse. What's really peculiar, right? And this is, I try not to become the conspiracy theory guy, because that's a whole different sphere in itself, right? But one thing I can't ignore is, see if Scotland was the only place in the history of the world at that time, the only place in the whole geography of the world, that tried to pass gender recognition laws, I could think, well, do you know what? We're just unlucky because we've got the fucking idiots, right? But when you take a step back and you realise Canada, America, Australia, New Zealand, loads of places in Europe, we're all trying to do the same thing at the same time, right? Then that's bloody weird. Then you factor in the amount of stuff, the digital ID, the 15-minute cities, the blah, the immigration, the illegal migrants, the asylum seekers, all this stuff. It's all happening almost at the same time in all these countries that are meant to be independent all over the world. That's pretty weird, right? And he's just a guy who typifies that. There's nothing that he brings out. Everything that he brings out or tries to bring out is normally stuff that somebody else, somewhere else in the world is trying to do in several different places at the same time. And that's bloody scary. I done a great interview with Stephen. Stephen's Twitter's name's the barrister.
Stephen Barrett, did it? The solicitor.
Yeah.
He's great.
So I can't remember what Stephen's handle is. I'd seen it, I started looking into the Fabians and I thought, well, they're a bit weird, this mob, right? And I'd seen Stephen had wrote a couple of things about them. So I contacted Stephen. I said, Stephen, do you fancy doing a wee half hour on this? And we done it, right? And I was blown away because it's see anybody that's got any conspiracy theories in their head at all about, you know, globalization. They just have different names for who they think's the ultimate control. Some people say it's Jews, it's the Freemasons, it's Illuminati, it's the Who. It doesn't matter. It's just another name, right?
Yeah.
But see, halfway through doing that podcast with Stephen, I was like, is it them? Because they're nutters. They're absolute. When you look at the history of Labour people, for Tony Blair and all the people, I think every cabinet minister in the current cabinet is a Fabian. And when you understand that their whole theory, their ethos is built on their old logo, which was a wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
Yeah.
And their whole ethos, Fabian was a general, I believe, a Roman general, who had a slightly different way of going about things to others. He used to just burn you out by slow, and then bang, we'll eventually get there. That was his theory. The Fabians took his name, right? And one thing that Stephen told me, the takeaway from that podcast was, he said, you know, 1984 was written as a warning because the author was a Fabian and he knew all about the Fabians. And what he was saying in 1984 was, he wrote that the Fabians were formed in 1884. And basically, what he's saying is, this is his warning. That if these people have 100 years at it, this is where we're going to end up. And I can't disagree with that theory. That's bloody scary. And there's evil. There's definitely evil games afoot at a level I don't understand. So that's kind of where we are. So we need, and that's another reason for getting normal people in, right? We need people. And by the way, what John Shipp's saying there is the Fabians will influence. Another thing is, you don't need to be a member of the Fabians to be influenced by them. And if you look at the type of government that the SNP have given you through Sturgeon and Humza and now John Swinney, very similar. So you don't even need to be a member to be influenced. So, you know, it's not just the Labour.
Well, we've done our research on the Fabian Society. So research on the Fabian Societies. We did a show a couple of weeks ago with Alex Watts, a formerly military guy, and you know he's done some very deep research, not just on the history and its formation, but also, I mean, most people don't realise that the Labour Party was formed by the Fabian Society in the 1900s. That's how they were formed. No, but the Labour Party didn't come into existence until the 1900s. So, and a lot of their policies are derived from Fabian's philosophies. And I think, you know, that is still in play today. Whether we, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you're talking, going on a rabbit hole. But the truth is, these things are happening in front of us and people are not accepting it. And I think British politics right now is on the edge of this, on the precipice of either going down the Swanee or we can pull it back. And I think we're all fighting for the same thing, Craig. We all want our country back. We want sovereignty. We want the freedom of speech restored. We want real democracy. We don't want these international bodies, whatever you want to call them, Fabians and WHO, whatever. We want nothing to do with them. We want full control. The Supreme Court, another example. Now we've got David Lammy wanting to get rid of juries, which is the bedrock of our justice system in this country. You had Tony Blair get rid of the treason bill, when he was in the 90s. I wonder why he did that. And because you look at this current prime minister now, he is treasonous to this country. What he's done, it's criminal. What he's done, and most of the MPs that that sit in Parliament, what they've done to this country, should be in prison. And I make no apology for saying it, because what they've done is they have destroyed people's lives. I'm talking about ordinary people in this country. And like you say, Greg, what Parliament, what politicians, what we need is people, ordinary people. We've got a bit up here as well. We don't numpties in Parliament, but people who've lived life experience and have gone through difficult times and have had to fight to get to where they are because they can appreciate what they have and what they've got. And they've got experience to help other people. Because surely being a politician is all about serving the people. We are their masters, not their servants, but they've switched it, haven't they?
Yeah, and this is what I'm kind of saying, that if you do the same thing as you done yesterday and expect a different result tomorrow, that is a good definition of insanity, right? So if we keep voting in politicians to be politicians, guess what? Have we not learned through the last 16 years that it doesn't matter if you've got a red rosette or a blue rosette. If you're shit at government, you're shit at government, right? Exactly. And we've already discussed my theory that the majority, and it's not unique to any party, because I've already give you, examples of people in totally different politics from me that I think, you're a decent person. You're not an atypical politician. And if we keep voting the same in, we'll get the same result. And what we can need to do, and again, I can't target everybody with the same brush, because to say that some political people are arseholes, that doesn't mean they're all. Right, and there'll be things in there that will take me about. Say I get in for 5 years into Hollywood. There'll be things in there, just the mechanics, just basic things I don't understand of how it works. Whereas people that are already politicians know that. So I think it would be ridiculous to have 130 people in Hollywood who had no political experience, because that's a shambles waiting to happen.
Yeah, of course.
But we kind of need more than the half a dozen we've got just now.
Yeah. I think. We've seen. You've probably seen it yourself. These big defections, say big. Robert Jenrick and Nadeem Nazawi over to the Reform Party, and Reform morphing into the Conservatives. I find this ironic because Farage on record, and I'm not here to slam people, just to tell the truth. Because we're unfiltered on the show, and he's on record on his show, Farage show. GB News. The GB News show. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Farage show. On record, actually saying that if anyone was to defect to a different party, there should be an automatic by-election. And in fact, I've got the video here of him saying it. I'd be interested to know your thoughts. We'll watch this, Craig, and we'll be straight back. Right.
Back in 2013 and 14, I had several Conservative members of the Parliament who wanted to defect and sit as UKIP. I said to all of them, the only acceptable way you can do that is to resign your seat and hold a by-election. And two of them, Douglas Carswell and Mark Reckless, did exactly that, and indeed went on to win the by-elections. For the others, I said, it's no go, it's not right, it is dishonourable. And this really is the dishonourable member for Bury South, Christian Wakeford. It is a complete insult to voters for MPs to have the arrogance to think that it's them they voted for, when the truth is most of us vote for or against the main party leaders. And it amazed me that Boris Johnson, in response, didn't even ask for the man to put himself forward for a by-election. You see, the truth, folks, is they're nearly all, not all, but nearly all, career politicians. You, the voters, are just useful to them once every few years. It's all about them. It is, I think, today, a disgraceful episode.
There we have it, Farage. Right. So what are your thoughts on that beloved man?
Right. This might surprise you, right? But I disagree with him. And I'll tell you why. I'm not a great believer in people voting for rosettes. I would love, it would be complete nirvana for me. have an election or two where you don't represent a party. You get out there and you tell the people in your community what you'll do for them in Westminster or Holyrood or the Senate or Stormont, right? And let people vote for you. Because that's where we're actually, Westminster's slightly different from Holyrood, and I'll come back to that in a second. But in a first past the post, what you're actually voting for is for somebody out of your community to go to Westminster and serve you. So if that person halfway through their term decides, I kind of don't like the Labour Party anymore, then they put whatever result they want on, because if people technically, and shouldn't be, voting for the result, they should be voting for the individual. So I kind of think, no, I can't have those views that I want, and I believe the public should vote for an individual, and then say that is right. So that's why I've got an opposite view to him on that. And then, but obviously, he's flip-flopped anyway, because like Jennings not calling for a by-election. So he flip-flops. I'll make my decision based. And by the way, see if somebody asks me a question and I've not formed an opinion yet, I'll tell them that. And by the way, I also accept that I can change my opinion in the future if information comes my way. But on this subject and on this point, I kind of don't think the only bit I think they've got a slight difference. I'm not sure how the Senate works, so please excuse my ignorance. But in Scotland, about half the seats are constituency seats, first past the post, and the other half are regional seats, which are a sort of PR proportional representation.
Yeah, it's quite similar here, Craig. It's exactly the same, yeah.
So see, on those votes, you're not voting for an individual. You are voting for a party.
Yeah.
So if those votes, if those people, and that's happened a couple of times in Scotland, in fact, I think the Reform MSP that they've got get through in a list vote. On those, I kind of think that that's a possible outcome. You should say, well, hold on a minute, nobody voted for you. They voted for the party on the list seats. But the majority of seats, and when we're talking about Westminster, they're first past the post, and you, the person, get voted in. Now, if people were stupid enough to only vote for people because of the result on their show, then that's their problem, because that's not what you're voting for. You're voting for somebody in your community to go down there and represent you. That's what the deal is. We can't expect them in my election. And I would love, genuinely, and that sounds bonkers for a guy that's a leader of a political party, but I would love an election or two where we just voted for people, because that's what we're meant to.
Yeah, I think that option of, PR, there's arguments on both sides, and it helps the minor, smaller parties. I mean, they slightly changed it during the Senate for May's elections, but there's 6 on the list, and they've changed the constituency boundaries as well, so 16 constituents. So it's kind of changed, and Labour have always changed it to suit them. I mean, they've lowered the voting age to 16 because most of our education, they're drilled to support Labour, because a lot of our teaching skilled force work here in Wales are Labour supporters. You find that. It's been like after decades since devolution began, and again under Tony Blair, who I believe is the antichrist of it all. I mean, and I think what we're seeing here, but things are changing. I think there is a real sense that people are fed up of the decline, the state of our streets and our cities. I know Glasgow. I've been up there many, many times. The Gobbles was a rough place. Those towers, those flats I used to go to. When I was working with addicts at the time and helping them and things like that, taking them into rehab. Most of our people that came to our residential rehabilitation centres that I was running at the time, most of our residents came from Glasgow. It had a huge drug epidemic up there, and I know that it still has. And it seems as if that whoever's in power in Hollywood, they haven't got the grip with the drug epidemic up there, Craig, have they?
No, not at all. We've got this new thing that I take a lot of advice. There's a character up here who's very well known, Anne-Marie Ward, who is she runs a charity up here, and she flipped on this, which I need to respect. When she went to, it was either Lisbon or Porto in Portugal. We've got a consumption room in Glasgow, so it's the only place in the United Kingdom where it's actually legal for you to take Class A drugs. And Anne-Marie used to be an advocate for them, and then she went and saw what happened in Portugal, where the whole thing just fell apart, because it didn't tie any support, which is a topic you'll know far more about me. Letting people take drugs in a safe environment is one thing, but offering and giving them support that can work is a totally other thing. And there's something like, I might be wrong with the figures here. I read it today and I need to go and study up more. But in the time that consumption room's been operational, there's been like 12 or 20,000 uses of people going in there, clean needle, jagging, whatever they want to do, right? But out of that amount of people, visits, there's only 500 people went, right? But out of that 500 people, there's only 4 have went on to any other form of rehabilitation. So what we're doing is, whereas before up here, the big problem we had was methadone became a replacement drug, not a get you off drugs drug, right? So now what we're doing is we're saying, we'll just stay on the smack. We'll just make sure that you've got a clean needle. And they're not providing the support that these people need. Glasgow is a drug death capital in Europe and has been for a number of years. So we're evidently not very good at it. And what we're doing just now, again, using an analogy, if you do the same yesterday, do the same tomorrow and expect a different result, you're absolutely barking. So all the SNP have done now is done this thing in paper, a consumption room, a safe consumption room. You think, well, it might save some lives, and you're getting people coming to you. You can then get in about them and try and get them onto programs. 4 people have went out of the 500 users have went onto programs. So the other 496, they're still drug users. They just might die with the stuff that you can go wrong with having dirty equipment. And the other thing, and I called this right away, I said, see, if I was a drug dealer in Glasgow, I'd be pitching up at the Carlton. Because we know everybody walking in that direction wants drugs. But the other thing that I did a couple of podcasts with Anne-Marie on it, and I said to Anne-Marie, this thing, I like use common sense and basic, simple logic. If I'm a drug, you'll appreciate this and be able to agree or disagree with me on this point. If my whole life evolves around my addiction, I'm going to wake up in the morning, and if I'm fortunate enough to have enough money to buy the drug of my choice, my first thing I want to do is find somebody to sell me it. If I don't have the money, the first thing I need to do is, how am I going to get the money? Right, so that's problem number one. So solve that problem, which normally means something illegal. I then get to, I'm not going to travel the width of Glasgow for a drug dealer. I'm going to find out who's closest with some half-decent product at the price I normally pay, right? And that's wee Bob, 2 closes away. So I go to wee Bob, I steal something to get my 20 quid or whatever it is, I get my money, I then go and get my drug. I'm now 5 miles away for this safe consumption area. Right, so what they expect me to do is do all that couple of hours to get to my drug, and then think, well, I better get a bus to go to the consumption room at the other side of the city. No, I'm going up a close or in a park or up a railway line to get my drug, because I've now been awake for 4 hours and it's driving me fucking insane, right? So who's going to go to it? The people that are going to go to it are going to be people only from a walking distance of that area. And they're now all congregating in an even tighter bit. The East End of Glasgow is some of the most deprived areas in Glasgow. And I would imagine, again, because of stats, that would therefore probably be safe to say a bit higher drug use than other areas in Glasgow. And now we're even concentrating them into a smaller postcode. It just doesn't make sense. But Anne-Marie did believe in this process for a while until she went and travelled. I think Portugal was the first in Europe to try it. And it started off all right, but then loads of problems evolved. And she actually said, I can't advocate this anymore. And Adsley has went full 180 on it. And we have something like 17 beds available for rehabilitation of drug or any addiction in the hospital. Well, hold on a minute. What we try to achieve here? Could we have less Scottish people dying, please? That would be quite good, right? For the top of the league, year on year for about 3 or 4 years of killing our own through drug problem. That's not even to touch the alcohol, which we're quite good at killing ourselves through alcohol as well, by the way. We're really clever.
Is it Buckfast Abbey? Buckfast Abbey wine is the flavour over there.
That's a national drink. Yeah, Buckfast Abbey's down the south coast.
I never tried that. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah. My mum has a little shot before she goes to bed every night.
Is it whiskey?
No, it's like a tonic wine.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Tonic wine, yeah. Oh, mate. Oof. Aye, listen, it's good. I'll never say I've never had it, right? But I couldn't tell you the last time I had it, and probably any time I did have it, I had no more than 2 bottles in a calendar year. But aye, it's like proper potent. But But here's another crazy thing, right? People don't realise how mental Scotland is, right? So what we done, we're proper potty. We brought out a thing, right, that I kind of thought, well, that's an SNP thing that might work, right? Because we've got big problems, big social problems with alcohol. And we're well renowned for it. We're world famous for being heavy drinkers. So the SNP a few years ago brought out a thing called minimum alcohol pricing. So what they'd done was, drinks like your White Lightning and the cheap ciders that are very strong, they put these minimum alcohol pricing. So the price is based on the level of alcohol and the volume, as in, is it a 330 milliliter can, or is it a half a litre can, or is it a 750 bottle? So you factor all these in, and it tells you that's the minimum you can charge for that bottle. So it made a £4 or £5 bottle of cider that was dangerous, 12 quid, right? So anybody with an addiction problem just had to drink something different. And the whole theory was, we'll maybe try and get folk to drink less mental stuff like Buckfast, right? And I thought, well, that's quite good. And see the extra revenue that brings in. We can maybe use that for rehabilitation. Unfortunately, I've lost two very, very close friends to addiction problems who they were on programs that done well for them for short periods of time, and it didn't work long term, right? So I kind of got an interest in these people not dying. And I thought, well, we could maybe build a rehabilitation centre somewhere, right? On the income, the extra resource that this minimum alcohol pricing is going to generate. What I didn't know was, do you know where the extra money that comes from the extra we charge for alcohol in Scotland goes? Take a guess. You will not get it. Take a guess.
I'm trying to. Go. It is. Go on.
Where does it go to?
The retailer.
What? So that subsidy, so that extra money, instead of being poured into rehabilitation, it's going to the retailer.
Yeah. Now, even if we didn't put it into rehabilitation, it doesn't affect a tax, right? So you would think, well, at least, we might have a wee bit more money going in the National Health Service or the Police Service or wherever you want to spend it. And I thought it would be fair that we could use that extra revenue to help the people, right, that are actually putting the money on the table. It took me, I never even thought about it, because I thought, oh, they'll probably just waste it in some shite, free prescriptions or some nonsense. No, the retailer keeps the money.
Wow.
You tell me why anybody wants to put a tax on that the government don't get the benefit of the tax, because it is a tax, because it makes something more expensive based on a criteria, and the retailer keeps it.
It's crazy.
Scotland is not normal, mate.
No, I mean, one of my previous jobs was in rehabilitation, actually, and for almost over 10 years. And one of the things I noticed was there was hardly any government funding at all. We were an NGO, we had to raise our own funds, and we had homes, HMOs, and everything else, and we saw a 76% success rate. But I think the problem we always found was politicians always turned up. They came to speak to us, had photographs. I remember Ian Duncan Smith came actually to the one in a place called Abertleary in the Valleys. It was a hotel that we had with 36 residents, and he gave a speech, and we want to help you. The work you're doing is great. And we heard absolutely nothing. He just came for a photo shoot and said, what we're doing is amazing. He said, the government can learn from you guys. You should be government funded. There should be money available to you. And there just simply isn't, because, of course, the government profit from a lot of this as well. And it's a sad place. And I know Scotland is one of the drug capitals of Europe, if not the world. I mean, it really is that bad, Craig, isn't it?
It's a title that we're really good at it. We've been talking about that table for a few years now. We managed to lose more people in Glasgow per capita, than any other city in the whole of Europe. And it wasn't just a 1 year blip. We managed to hold the title. We've retained that title for about 3 years now. And people go, but what? What's the excuse? People say, oh, Westminster. Westminster what? Health and education, two of the biggest drivers, as I would hope you would agree, to help with drug and any addiction problems. Are devolved powers. So the buck stops here. Do you know what Scottish people are very good at? Telling everybody else it's their fault We're very, very bad. It's taking responsibility and saying, we're shite, right? We're very, very bad at dealing with really serious issues like drugs.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
the fact
I mean,
don't learn.
the way you've been handled, you know, has just been horrific as well. I just want to like recap, because obviously we're coming to the end of our time, and I just wanted just to kind of go through again. So this is about you, and we have this one, which is about you, but we also had a video that we just wanted to play. And there's a guy, and the reason why I'm setting this up is because I want to ask you a pertinent question at the end. But let me just play this. And yeah, we'll just go from there. Just give us 2 seconds.
News this morning that I've seen. I was sent it last night by my friend Nick Buckley. A lot of us are in a WhatsApp group together, and it turns out that Craig Houston, I'm sure many of you watch Craig Houston Talks, has been arrested by Police Scotland in Glasgow. This is because of comments that he made, but all he did was reiterate what this councillor in Glasgow, this woman, had already said. One of her comments being pale, male and stale when she talked about politics in general, local politics around Glasgow, which I would say is not only a racist comment, it's also discriminatory as well, because if a male had come out and said that about her and turned it round on her skin colour, turned it round on her gender, no doubt she'd have played merry hell, and so would all the other people that supported her. The police are only saying at the moment that a 52-year-old man has been arrested. The Daily Record is saying it is Craig Houston. Craig hasn't been replying to messages and he hasn't put any videos out, so I would assume that it definitely is Craig. I hope he's a member of the Free Speech Union. Please do support Craig, by the way. If he is a member of the Free Speech Union, then good, he'll get help. If he isn't, then we'll have to see where this goes, but he has been charged, apparently, so he will appear at... in Scotland they call it the Sheriff's Court, don't they? So he'll appear at Glasgow Sheriff's Court. If you are a YouTuber, if you are a content creator and do politics, join the Free Speech Union. They have helped me immeasurably on at least one occasion, and you can always go to them for advice as well. Join the Free Speech Union. It isn't expensive and they're extremely good.
There we go. So yeah, come back to that. Sorry, but that's what I set up there. Yeah.
So the question that I wanted to ask you is that obviously a lot of people are doing their own thing now. They are putting out their own content, and the question is, if they were to be in a similar situation as you can look back retrospectively. What advice would you give to somebody if it happened to us today? What would you tell us to do? What's the best advice you can give?
The first thing I would give from personal experience is just don't give them you need to give them your phone, because you get put in a police cell, you can't get in your police cell with a phone, right? Don't give them a password. The second thing, I can't talk through experience because I never got that far, and there was a reason I could bore you to death why, but I never had an interview. But if you do have an interview, don't say a word unless you have representation, because you and I might think we're intellectual, but we don't know the law. And the law isn't as not obvious as you would imagine. There's some really strange, quirky things about it. So the second bit of advice I would give is that shut up and say nothing. The police tell you when they arrest you, you have the right to remain silent. You'll take them up in that offer. You can't do any harm. But what you can do is say the wrong thing. I'm going through another situation. I'm going to court tomorrow with my nearly 70-year-old auntie, who's been you'll think the Houstons are a crime family up here. We're not, right? But my 70-year-old, nearly 70-year-old auntie, she stopped a shoplifter at the door of our local supermarket and is up for a charge of racial assault. And I've been up at court with her 3 times. Yeah. Jeez. I've been up at court with her 3 times, and hopefully the trial starts tomorrow. And she says things, and I'm like, Mary, just shut up. Don't say a word. Because you don't know how your words will be twisted, construed, or what you could say is something that actually gives the prosecution something for you, right? Now, let's say, for example, I'm trying to think of a situation. You might think, oh, that'd be all right to say, but you could do you in. Okay, well, did you call? What did you mean by them when you said on your tweet, they're all the same, or another one of them? Yeah, well, all the migrants. That could be a silly enough quote to really do you some serious harm. And although you might not think it at the time, do not say a word, even in the car, when you're getting driven to the police station. Talk about the weather. Talk about the football. If you need to talk about anything, but don't talk about your case. Unless, and I've been very fortunate, and this is something that I'll be eternally grateful for. I was very fortunate to get representation underwritten by the Free Speech Union. Now, giving some indications, if my case doesn't go to court, my bill will be up to about £10,000. If I do go to court, the bill will be up to somewhere circa £40,000.
Wow.
Now, I don't know many people that could underwrite that for their own self. 95% of your population don't save, right? So 95% of your population couldn't do that. They need to go and mortgage their house or sell their car or do whatever they needed to do. I was very, very fortunate that I didn't have to consider those things. And I've had very, very good representation. You might not be as fortunate. And that's a problem with the system. Yeah. So even if you're not a podcaster, you're just somebody that tweets a lot, join £8, free speech. Now, that doesn't give you carte blanche to be an idiot. What that does is, if you're arrested and things that are a bit iffy, then the Free Speech Union can help you. But if you want to go out and say really stupid things that are evidently breaking the law, then they can't help you because they can't change the law. But what they can do is they can get you real good representation if, like I believe I have, not done anything wrong. So that's what I would say.
How would people get onto the Free Speech Union? Is it?
Yeah, Toby Young, who's formed, he's been given an OBE, isn't he, for his work? You can, if you just Google Free Speech Union, it's a small subscription fee for the year, I believe, Craig, isn't it? And they can.
I think it's £8 per month. Do things get me right? I mean, see the British public, right? I kind of like to think we're different from most other types of people. I had people that I've never met in my life want to set up on GoFundMe pages and stuff, because the Free Speech Union, it's not a quick process. It's relatively quick. I mean, it was within a few days, but it's not like you phone them once and they say, yeah, we'll take the case. They need to check all the ways, right? And in that sort of time, so I was kind of confident they were taking the case, right? Everybody that I spoke to was like, this one should be fine, but we need to do X, Y, and Z before we confirm that. And in that sort of space, see, there's people that just don't understand that care. The amount of people want to give me money. And I was like, I might not need any, right? And I had one guy came up and he said, he sent me an email. I don't know the guy from Adam. And he said, Craig, he went, I don't know if you are or you're not, but I'm just about to hit the button. I just thought I'd give you the common decency asking you, I want to buy a 12-month subscription for this Free Speech Union. And you're like, wow. You know, this is a lonely existence. At least you two have got each other to keep company. I sit in this four walls, particularly since I've been arrested quite a lot of time myself for long periods of time. It's quite a lonely existence talking to a camera. And you sometimes don't understand that you actually do make differences to other people. And they do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that was very humbling. And it likes a Preston, that video that you just showed there. He's a great guy. And he was right in saying him, myself, Silver Fox, and Nick Buckley. We've been in a WhatsApp group for maybe a couple of years now. Silver Fox started it up.
What's his name again? The guy that we've just played. What's his name again?
Preston journalist.
Yeah, that's it.
We'll have to get in touch with him. It'd be great to speak to
That's
him.
not his real name, but you know, I'm not I don't know.
We'll do that. Craig, our time's up, mate. We've really enjoyed it. Listen, we could listen to you. The Scottish accent is a beautiful accent, right? I don't know if it's as good as the Welsh accent. We'll put that into our poll in our community here on YouTube, right?
Or a lost voice.
Or a lost voice. But on a serious note, mate, thank you ever so much for agreeing to come on. The time has flown by, mate, and your story is incredible. Now, how can people support you in the sense of finding out more about you, your YouTube channel, your social media? Where can they find you? We'll put them in the links and everything.
my biggest platform, and again, I can't understand how I didn't start podcasting until about 3 years ago. And initially, see, because my phone was full of Rangers contacts, like ex-players, directors, managers, and all that stuff, I kind of like James English. James English is a boy I've known for a while, and he does his podcast, very successful. And I wanted to do what James done, and he was kind enough. I met him for a coffee and with a chat. That's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to do a football version of James English, just with all these Rangers people, right? So I had ex-football hooligans, ex-players, ex-managers, ex-chairmen. I had 2 ex-chairmen in my first 4 gigs. It was great, and I loved it. And then I woke up one morning, November 2023, and a Scottish politician done my nut in, and I put out a video about politics, a 5-minute video with my iPhone hung over my laptop, no studio lights, no mic, nothing. And loads of people watched it. And that's when I started my political journey. And I've now got 84,000 people subscribed to me on YouTube. And I'm a bit jealous. See, if I had Nick Buckley's accent or Preston's accent, I could maybe have 10 times that, because not a lot of people understand. A lot of my videos, I do talk about politics in general, and I do talk about standard and stuff, but the majority of my content is Scottish. So I understand I'm in a sort of small market. But it was Basil actually pointed out to me 2 months ago. We were talking about my growth in YouTube and whatever, and how it sort of stifled a bit since the arrest. And he was playing about his laptop, and he said, "Craig, do you know you've got more people follow you on YouTube than Scottish television?" I was like, "What?" And I'm like, "That's mental." And then he went, "Hold on a minute, BBC Scotland News, I've got about 3,000 less than them. And they've had their channels forever. I'm 2 years into this." So it's mental. It's proper mental. And I just can't, I don't think I can convey how much it means, the support, just even people subscribing. And when you get a bit of bother and you see the amount of people. And the other thing that blew me, I've been down to London twice recently for Tommy's rally and the Football Fans Alliance thing, the Football Lads Alliance. And it was people, English people. "All right, Craig, I watch your videos," and I'm thinking, how do you even understand me? Right, it's mental. It's proper nuts. And yeah, and I say to them in my videos, "Have a great day, cheery bye now." And the funniest one was a wee Geordie woman that cornered me at the Football Lads thing just before the match set off. She said, "Oh, Craig, I can't believe we met you, blah, blah, blah." She said, "You know what I love?" I was like, "What's that?" She's like, "Cheery bye now," right? So I recorded her saying cheery bye now, and for the next month I used that at the end of my videos. And it's just mad things like that just make it, it's a tough gig, particularly the arrest and the shite I've had to deal with. But see, just wee daft things like that, they mean the world to me. And that's when you actually sometimes you consider your sanity.
Yeah.
And all it takes at times is just for, I think I was with Kev one day. All right. We've been down to Epping. So we're halfway down the M6 in the middle of England somewhere, right? And we stopped off for a quick pee break, and I put a couple of pounds of petrol in the car. And this guy comes up to me at the petrol station, the English guy, he's like, "All right, Craig." But no, all joking aside, it's very, very humbling. And I don't know where this journey will end. And if I can get to Holyrood, it will be like the Rocky Balboa story of politics. I imagine, So, but thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it.
I think one of the advantages of an accent like this, we can say, "No, I didn't say that. You misunderstood me. You just didn't understand my accent." So, so if I do get arrested, say, "No, I didn't say that." So, but Craig, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on, and there's so much love for you in the comments here as well. And for all those that view our channel, please follow Craig as well. That's important. And on X as well. Follow him on there. We retweet all this as well. This show is obviously live. It'll be posted out tomorrow as well to all of our viewers as well. We just want to say thank you to you, Craig, and to everyone that's tuning in and taking the time to be with us on a Sunday night. Thank you ever so much for watching the Richie Rogue Show Unfiltered, and thank you to our special guest tonight, Craig. And we look forward to seeing you all on Wednesday, Tuesday.
No, Tuesday.
He never tells me.
We're doing it Tuesday.
We will be with the wonderful Howard Cox from Fairfield and a college member of Advance UK on Tuesday. So thank you all for watching. Craig, thank you.
Subscribe and follow.
Subscribe, and we'll catch you soon.
Bye.
Cheerio.